So a decision on whether or not to hold an inquest into Dr. Kelly's death has not yet been taken. On tonight's ITV News at 10, we hear from both sides in that debate about whether there should be one. First, Dr. Michael Powers, a Deputy Assistant Coroner and barrister specialising in medical cases. He believes that, yes, there is a case for an inquest.
Issues concerning the death of the late Dr. David Kelly have not gone away. There is a great deal of conflict of expert medical opinion. And we must remember during the course of Lord Hutton's inquiry that the amount of time which was spent on medical causation was very small, about 2%, less than half a day of the 24 days he took evidence. In fact, it is all comprised here, and none of that expert evidence was challenged, tested, or assessed for its quality in any way. We now need to see a full inquest to answer many of the questions which have been raised and to test thoroughly through examination and cross-examination the opinions which the experts have given. That way we hope to lift the veil of secrecy on the medical records, perhaps to end a lot of the remorseless speculation concerning the circumstances of death, and above all, we will see our confidence in the judicial system properly founded, and in particular in the effective means of coroners' investigations.
Dr. Michael Powers, who believes there is a case for an inquest into Dr. Kelly's death. Now, the view of newspaper columnist and broadcaster David Aaronovitch. He believes there is no need for an inquest. In his view, holding one would achieve nothing.
Ever since the Hutton inquiry decided that Dr. David Kelly killed himself in 2003, there have been some people who've queried that verdict. A number of them are essentially conspiracy theorists, people like the current Transport Minister, who believe that David Kelly was in fact murdered with the connivance or with the knowledge of the British government and the British security forces. Now, one of the things that they adduce to their side of this argument is the idea put up by a number of doctors that actually Kelly couldn't have died by the means ascribed. He couldn't have died of a cut ulnar artery. It simply wouldn't have bled enough. Now, my difficulty with this argument is that there are plenty of forensic pathologists, people who actually look at dead bodies, who say, no, you're wrong. Actually, the cut artery, together with the fact that he'd taken an overdose of painkillers and the fact that he also had some heart disease, could and did lead to his death. And what I'm not clear about in a new inquest is how that issue would be resolved. My argument is that it won't. I'm perfectly happy for there to be a new inquest. But if, as well I expect, when those two sets of doctors have their argument, and it is almost certainly resolved in favour of the idea that Dr. David Kelly did in fact commit suicide, would that lead to an end to conspiracy theories? And I think it almost certainly wouldn't. And the reason for that is that David Kelly is, if you like, seen as an anti-Iraq war martyr who was murdered, if you like, by the evil Blair. The irony being that he was actually in favour of getting rid of Saddam Hussein by force and believed that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
David Aaronovitch's view on holding an inquest into David Kelly's death.